ride my 22-year-old dream bike from Bolton to Bologna? Well, we're going to find out. But first, roll the intro. I suppose the question on your lips is why? Well, let's rewind to 2010. I just had my first whoopsie on my first big bike, and I was due to go on my first European tour with my dad a few months later. I needed a bike. I trawled through eBay relentlessly to try and find a replacement bike for me. Now, as a kid growing up, I'd always been obsessed with radical Ducatis and custom Ducati builds from the likes of people like Walt Siegel. In fact, my social media feeds were often full of pictures of these radical Ducatis that I really aspired to owning. That's when I saw my dream bike. It popped up and I was smitten. It was stealthy, it was blacked out, it was really industrious looking with that trellis frame, and I was honestly in love. I said, Dad, I've found the bike that I want. He just looked at me and he said, Kate, get that thought out of your head. There is no chance that you are going to be going to Europe on an old Ducati. You need something more reliable, you need something newer, and you need something that you can trust to get you there. Well, I didn't really have much of a say at this point, given the fact that I was living under his roof, so I took his advice begrudgingly. Now fast forward to today, and I, UsernameKate, have teamed up with Bikesure Insurance to find an original Ducati 750S, turn it into the bike that got away, ride it to Europe and take it specifically back to the motherland, and then give the bike away to a lucky Bikesure customer at the end. If you're interested in having a chance at winning the end product, then definitely check out the link in Bikeshure's description. Step 1. Find the bike. After scrolling on eBay for days and days looking for the cleanest Ducati 750S we could find, we finally found a super low mileage one. It had done 4,500 miles roughly, and it was at Budget Bikes down in Swindon. Now, the buying process with the guys at Budget Bikes had been absolutely plain sailing. I dealt with a salesman called Steve who was very attentive and would send me WhatsApp pictures of the bike close up so that I knew what I was getting before I travelled the 3.5-hour journey down to collect. Now, when I saw the bike advertised on the website, it was £2,800. I did try to haggle them down because shy kids get no sweets. However, they weren't for budging. But as I saw on the pictures that Steve sent me, it was originally up for £3,600. So I can understand why there was no movement in the price after that. It's not the best for parking, is it, Mike?
Not at all.
But we'll make it work. Wait, look at her. Project Bike. Let me see. Oh, it looks proper clean.
Yeah, it's lovely, to be fair. Absolutely lovely.
Awesome.
So there's obviously fast idle on there. They are quite enthusiastic with the fast idle. Red's up by Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm following Steve right now. We're just going to sort out a bit of paperwork and then get on our way again, 3 and a bit hours, back to sunny Manchester. Knows how to keep the neighbours happy, doesn't he? When we got down to the dealership and saw the bike in the metal, it was quite clear that this bike was a minter. The engine paint wasn't flaky, and that is quite a common problem with these bikes. Once we got home, it was time for Mike to take it out of the van. Now, there was a first few initial observations that I did have when Mike took the bike out. One was that it seemed to have a turning circle of the Titanic. The second observation was that the riding position looked extremely aggressive. Then the third observation was that the bike looked pretty tall. Now, Mike isn't a small man, and I'm a lot smaller than Mike, and I was a bit like, ooh, she looks tall. So, I'll be honest, a mechanic I am not. That's why I enlisted Mike to do all of the spannering on this build. I'm just the visionary with a vision that I need to make happen. So the main aim of this project for me was to just visually and aesthetically change the 750S that we'd purchased to make it look very, very similar to the one that got away. The main adjustments that I wanted to make was to take off all of the fairing, take off the nose cone and the bracketry that holds it all on, and put on a single round headlight. When looking at the one that got away, the seat unit had been changed and it looked pretty aggressive with that single seat and that cafe racer hump. However, because my plan was to do some big miles through Europe and end up in Bologna, I kind of figured that it might be sensible to keep that rear seat unit and the front seat unit as standard. Now, I don't think it ruined the looks too much, and I just thought that it looked great as it was. But now we have a comfort element and we have a practicality element of putting luggage on it by leaving that seat unit standard. Another change was to black out the exhausts. Now, this picture was taken as a screenshot from the eBay ad all those years ago, so I can't quite make out the logo on the exhausts. However, I got in touch with Max Torque Cans in Ormskirk, and they agreed to make me some black ones to look quite similar and sound really, really throaty. Then another thing, the back end on the standard 750S that we just bought looked so bulky, the indicators clunky as heck, the tail tidy humongous, the reg plate massive. Everything about the back end was just big and not in a good way. So the aim was to get a tail tidy for this bike. Not always easy with a bike from 2002. I got in touch with R&G to see if they had anything specific, but they didn't. So the plan for that was to potentially make our own and just hopefully it wouldn't look like it was cobbled together. Smaller indicators are a must for this thing as well. On the one that got away, the bike doesn't have mirrors and it does contribute to its aggressive looks. So my plan was to keep it true to the picture and just resigned myself to the fact that I would probably just be sitting behind cars, just chilling on the way to Bologna, and also doing some pretty thorough lifesavers before changing lanes. Indicators, hadn't decided yet, but we'd figure something out, and also we had to figure out where we were going to put the bulk of the electrics that were actually housed in the nose cone of the standard 750S that we bought. Got to make room and hide those as best we can somewhere. We could have gone for Renthals on this bike, but true to the picture, I wanted to keep the original clip-ons. And then of course we definitely needed some fresh rubber on this bike, as I'm pretty sure the tyres that are on it are originals. Stay tuned for the next episode, because in that the work commences. You guys see some before and after shots of the bike, and we'll even test ride it, take it on the road as a little practice run before just hitting Europe hard. Alright guys, I'll see you on the next one.